to welcome everyone to the Courts OECS Reading Competition 2017-2018 series. This is our final round for our local leg, and I'm happy to see that we have a packed room this morning. I want to give a very special welcome to all parents, all supporters, the students who are here to cheer for their school, trainers, and judges. Welcome. I'd also like to thank Courts for sponsoring the reading competition once again. We are very happy to have you as our corporate sponsor. So we're going to move right along into our short little program, and we're going to ask Ms. Justine Jarvis, who is the winner of the 2016-2017 Courts OECS reading competition. She's from the Divine Academy, and she's going to come and give the competitors reflection from her competing last year and a few encouraging words. Please give her a round of applause as she comes and speaks.
Good morning to all. I'm from the Divine Academy of Excellence School, and my name is Justine Jarvis. Today I stand extremely proud and thankful as the national winner in the past 2016 to 2017 Courts OECS reading competition and then was placed second in the regional competition. I worked tirelessly through all phases of the competition. Thanks be to God for the wonderful ability that He has given to me. My experience in the Courts OECS reading competition was phenomenal. On the first day of the competition, I was extremely nervous because I have never read in front of a strange audience, but I enjoyed doing things for the first time. To prepare, I had to put away all playing time. This meant that I had to eat my lunch quickly and rush down to the principal's office to practice for reading. Whenever I saw my friends playing and having a great time, I grew a bit sad because I was not there with them. But I knew that if I didn't practice, then I would not put my best foot forward and press towards my maximum potential. I would then disappoint not only my principal, but also myself and my friends. Reading takes a huge responsibility. Reading is not just looking at a book and saying the words that are inside of it. While reading, you must have proper pronunciation, eye contact, articulation, and fluency. If you follow those, you would become a successful reader. The reason why I love to read is because I can understand my work much better. I enjoy reading science books and factual books. Reading those books not only helps me to understand my work, but also to learn new things that I have never learned before. I also enjoy reading because it's a good thing to do. Just pick up a book and read. There are no shortcuts to life's greatest achievements. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in your reading.
Thank you very much, Justine Jarvis from the Divine Academy. And I'm sure you can see why she was the winner last year. Very impressive. At this time, I want to quickly introduce the judges. Today we have a guest judge who will be judging. Her name is Miss Adiola Matthew. Miss Matthew, please stand. She started her education at the Princess Margaret Secondary School as a teacher. She stayed there for 10 years, and as entrepreneur-minded as she is, she started her own institution, the Trinity Academy, in 2009, and has since then been there as a principal for the past 8 years. She holds a bachelor's in science degree in accounting and a master's in language and literacy education. Thank you very much, Ms. Matthew, for being our guest today. And our next judge is Mrs. Jacinta Gore, whom you may be familiar with. She is a past educator. Mrs. Cleo Cooper, our third judge. And our fourth judge, Ms. Sharon James, who is an intelligent published author. And these are your judges for today. Let me tell you, they have had a task set for them for the past few days. It hasn't been easy. Now at this time, I'm going to introduce to you our finalists, our 6 finalists. We actually had a tie in the semifinals. As I call the competitors, I would like for you to join me at the podium so our audience can see who you are. So in no way of calling them out, I'm going to start with the PS Primary, Nadia Williams, please join me. Cotton Primary, Jada Master. Sunnydale Primary, Messiah Graham. Sunnyside Tutorial, Jaden Prophet. St. John's Lutheran, Ika Edwards. Divine Academy, Michelle Wilson. Please let me go ahead and round of applause. These are your finalists for today. So finalists, please be escorted on the outside. Thank you. So our finalists will be going outside today for the finals. They'll be doing 2 pieces for you. Their first round, they'll be reading a story, and the second round, they'll be reading a newspaper article. The finalists are selected and selected numbers in the order they'll be reading, and they will all be reading story first and then the news article afterwards. And we are ready to begin with our first reader. And he is from the PS Primary, Nadia Williams. Please give him a round of applause and come with me for a story.
Think before you speak. It was a sunny day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to signal its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and the things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boy again screamed, "Dad, the trees are green in color and run backwards very fast." His father said, "Yes, dear," and smiled. Just like a toddler, he was watching everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father bought him apples. He said, "Oh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. Only a few days ago, he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the first time in his life." The young friend became very quiet and apologized to the father and his son. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia Williams from the Piers Primary School. Give him another round of applause. Job well done. As we give the judges some time to tally young Williams' score, I would like to remind you of the prizes for this competition. The winner will receive 2,000 EC dollars, and the school the winner represented will receive also 2,000 EC dollars. Second place will receive 750 EC dollars, and third place will receive $500. Those are good prizes, don't you think? I agree. I'd like to say thank you to our corporate sponsor, Courts, for these prizes. Our second reader is representing Divine Academy, Michelle Wilson. Give her a round of applause as she comes to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. This passage is entitled, "Think Before You Speak." It was a sunny day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters, who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to signal its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and the things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boy again screamed, "Dad, the trees are green in color and run backwards very fast." His father said, "Yes, dear," and smiled. Just like a toddler, he was watching everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father bought him apples. He said, "Oh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. Only a few days ago he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the first time in his life." The young friends became very quiet and apologized to the father and his son.
Michelle Wilson from Divine Academy. Give another round of applause. Our next reader is Jaden Prophet, representing the Sunnyside tutorial. Give her a round of applause.
Think before you speak. It was a sunny day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to signal its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and the things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boy again screamed, "Dad, the trees are green in color and run backwards very fast." His father said, "Yes, dear," and smiled. Just like a toddler, he was watching everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father bought him apples. He said, "Oh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. Only a few days ago, he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the first time in his life." The young friends became very quiet and apologized to the father and his son.
Thank you very much, Jaden Prophet from the Sunnyside tutorial. Please give him another round of applause. I must say all the competitors are doing a great job so far. And I want to commend the students who have been so quiet. I'm very impressed. Give yourself a round of applause. And I hope you stay that way for the rest of the competition. Can anyone from the audience tell me what is the topic of the story? Just stand. I want a student from the audience to stand at the back. Lutheran, I see someone standing. What's the name of the story? Shout it out for me.
Think before you speak.
Well done. Give him a round of applause. Always think before you speak. Sometimes you may look at something or what you think it is. That's not what it is. Our next reader is Tiaika Edwards, representing St. John's Lutheran. Give her a round of applause as she comes in to read her story.
Think before you speak. It was a sunny day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to signal its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boy again screamed, "Dad, the trees are green in color and run backward very fast." His father smiled and said, "Yes, dear," and smiled. Just like a toddler, he was watching everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father brought him apples. He said, "Oh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. Only a few days ago, he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the very first time in his life." The young friends became quiet and apologized to the father and his son.
Thank you very much, K.I.K. Edwards from the St. John's Lutheran. We have only 2 finalists remaining for round 1, and I must say this is a tight competition. Do you agree with me? Who do you think's going to win? Thank you. Our next reader is Jada Masker from the Potters Primary. Please welcome her as she comes in to read for you.
The title of this story is Think Before You Speak. It was a summer day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters, who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to signal its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board the train and They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and the things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boy again screamed, "Dad, the trees are green in color and run backwards very fast." Just like a toddler, he watched everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father bought him apples. He said, "Oh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. A few days ago, he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the first time in his life." The young friends became very quiet and apologized to the father and his son.
Thank you, Jada Master from the Potters Primary School. The competitors are judged out of 55 points. And let me go through the judges' criteria for you. Were all words read correctly? 5 points. Were phrases read effectively as a completed unit? 5 points. Was punctuations interpreted correctly? 5 points. Was volume used effectively? 5 points. Were all words pronounced distinctly? 5 points. Were key words emphasized? 5 points. Was mood or feelings conveyed effectively? 5 points. Was pitch used effectively? 5 points. Was the selection read at an appropriate rate for audience and purpose? 5 points. Did the student appear relaxed, confident, and able to recover quickly if a mistake was made? 5 points. Was there eye contact with the audience? 5 points, giving you an addition of 55 points total. Our final reader for round 1 is representing Sunnydale Primary, Micaiah Graham.
Think before you speak. It was a sunny day, but the weather was enjoyable. Everyone in the railway station was waiting for the train to arrive. In the crowd was a group of friends, youngsters who were going on vacation. It was a busy station with juice shops, coffee and tea stalls, newspaper shops, restaurants, and so on. The announcement regarding the arrival of the train was made and everyone prepared to get on board. The group of friends gave a loud shout to welcome the train as it entered the station. They ran to get their seats before anyone else could get into the train. The rest of the crowd embarked and the train whistled to a signal in its departure. An old man with a young boy aged around 15 years came running to catch the train. They got on board and the train started to move. The old man and the boy took seats adjacent to the group of friends. The young boy was so surprised to see everything. He exclaimed, "Dad, the train is moving and things are moving backwards." His father smiled and nodded. As the train started moving fast, the young boys again screamed, "Dad, The trees are green in color and run backwards very fast. His father said, "Yes, dear," and smiled. Just like a toddler, he was watching everything with great enthusiasm and surprise. A fruit seller passed by offering apples and oranges. The young boy cried, "Dad, I want to eat apples." His father bought him apple. He said, "Ooh, apples look so pretty. I love this color." The group was observing the curious behavior of the boy and asked his father, "Is your son having a problem? Why is he behaving very differently?" A friend from the group made fun of him and shouted, "His son is mad, I think." The father of the young boy patiently replied to the curious group, "My son was born blind. Only a few days ago, he underwent an operation that gave him his vision. He is seeing various things for the first time in his life." The young friends became very quiet and apologized to the father and his son.
Thank you very much, Micaiah Graham from the Sunnydale Primary School. Give him and all the other finalists a round of applause. It was an enjoyable first round performance. As the judges tally their scores for the first round, I'm going to read a poem for you, written by none other than Mr. Sylvanus Barnes, a published author from the Education Broadcasting Unit. And this poem entitles, "Read a Book." This exhortation I advance, your mental power to enhance. Resist the truths, enticing hope. Watch less TV, read a book. Although there are shows from which you profit, 'tis wise your viewing time to limit. There is a need, please realize, for greater mental exercise. So learn to read with fluency. Yes, strive for high proficiency. Through good pronunciation and proper punctuation. On grammar, you must concentrate, that when you speak, none may be read. Your vocabulary must be adequate to make you truly literate. And it is imperative to avoid the double negative. Use words with efficiency and less stamp out verbosity. So to adequately function, heed my passionate injunction. Activate every cranial note, watch less TV, read a book. As soon as the judges are ready, we're going to move right into part 2 of the competition, where they'll be reading a news article. This time, instead of standing at the podium, they'll be sitting comfortably and reading for you. And we're starting round 2. Our last reader from round 1 is now our first reader in round 2. Please welcome Micaiah Graham from the Sunnydale Primary as he reads the news article.
Take heed of strong warnings. Source: the Barbados Advocates. This hurricane season is one for the record books, and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and US Virgin Islands were pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments that were ongoing after Irma will have to be conducted all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage brought by Tropical Storm Erika 2 years ago. Now that country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the season to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard progress, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid it as much initial damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items and storing water. Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties and identify and hopefully reduce any risks, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event, we don't know what will happen but fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified and fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outreach and cooperation around the region have seen assistance across political unions, systems, and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors to storm-ravaged islands despite its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel and supplies for Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the initial donations of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in building countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these ferocious storms may be the new normal. Time will prove or disprove that theory. It is also possible that 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us into complacency.
Thank you very much, Ms. Irene, and from the Sunnydale Primary School. Job well done leading round 2. Our next reader is Jada Maskell from the Portrait Primary. Please welcome her as she reads.
Take heed of storm warnings. This hurricane season is one for the record books, and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and US Virgin Islands were pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments were ongoing for Irma will have to be conducted all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage wrought by Tropical Storm Erica 2 years ago. Now, the country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the season to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard process, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid as much initial damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items and storing water.
Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties to identify and hopefully reduce any risks, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event that fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified and fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outreach and cooperation around the region have seen assistance across political unions, system, and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors and storm-ravaged islands despite its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel supplies to Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the initial donations of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in rebuilding countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these ferocious storms may be the new normal. Time will prove or disapprove that theory. It is also possible that the 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us into complacency.
Thank you very much, Jada Maxwell from the Potters Primary School. Our next reader is from the Divine Academy, Michelle Wilson. Please give a round of applause as she comes to you.
Good afternoon to all. In today's headlines, take heed of storm warnings. This hurricane season is one for the record books and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands were pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments that were ongoing after Irma will have to be conducted all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage wrought by Tropical Storm Erika 2 years ago. Now that country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the season to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard progress, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid as much initial damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items and storing water. Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties to identify and hopefully reduce any risks, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event that fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified and fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outreach and cooperation around the region have seen assistance across political unions, systems, and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors to storm-ravaged islands despite its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel and supplies to Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the initial donations of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in rebuilding countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these ferocious storms may be the new normal. Time will prove or disprove that theory. It is also possible that the 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us into complacency.
Thank you very much, Michelle Wilson from the Divine Academy. Can someone from the audience, preferably a student, tell me what is the title of the news article? By show of hands? Sunnydale. She missed something there. Can anyone else help her? At the back, I see St. Just Lutheran. Take heed. Not quite. Someone else. Let's Divine Academy. Give me the full headline. Sunnydale, back to Sunnydale. Close. Let's try someone from Sunnyside tutorial. No? Okay, we're going back to Sunnydale. Repeat yourself. No. Yes? Very good. Give a round of applause. That was a bit of a tricky one. Storm of hurricanes, but the title is actually Take Heed of Storm Warnings. Representing the Sunnyside tutorial, please welcome Jaden Prophet.
Take heed of storm warnings. Source: The Barbados Advocate. Date: 9/22/2017. This hurricane season is one for the record books, and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands are pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments that were ongoing after Irma will have to be conducted all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage wrought by Tropical Storm Erica 2 years ago. Now that country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the season to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard progress, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid as much initial damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items and storing water. Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties to identify and hopefully reduce any risk, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event that fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified and fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outstretch and cooperation around the region have been seen assistance across political unions, systems, and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors to storm-ravaged islands despite its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel and supplies to Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the initial donations of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in rebuilding countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these furious storms may be the new normal. Time will prove or disprove that theory. It is also possible that the 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us into complacency.
Thank you very much, Lady Crawford, for the Sunnyside tutorials. And the competition is winding down. We have 2 more readers to read for you in round 2, and then we'll have our judges' decision. Our next reader is from the Pace Primary School, Nadia Williams. Please give a round of applause, and we can give you
Good morning, everyone. This article is entitled, Take Head of Storm Warnings. This hurricane season is one for the record books, and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and US Virgin Islands were pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments that were ongoing after Irma will have to be conducted all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage wrought by Tropical Storm Erika 2 years ago. Now that country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the season to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard progress, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid as much initial damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items and storing water. Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties to identify and hopefully reduce any risks, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event that fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified or fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outreach and cooperation around the region have seen assistance across political unions, systems, and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors to storm-ravaged islands despite its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel and supplies to Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the initial donation of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in rebuilding countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these ferocious storms will be the new normal. Time will prove or disprove that theory. It is also possible that the 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us into complacency. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia Williams from the Peers Primary School. We are down to our final competitor for round 2. Just let me give you a quick reminder of the judges' criteria, which is a total of 55 points. Were all words read correctly? 5 points. Were phrases read effectively as completed units? 5 points. Was punctuation interpreted correctly? 5 points. Was volume used effectively? 5 points. Were all words pronounced distinctly? 5 points. Were keywords emphasized? 5 points. Was mood or feelings conveyed effectively? 5 points. Was pitch used effectively? 5 points. Was the selection read at an appropriate rate for audience and purpose? 5 points. Did the student appear relaxed, confident, and able to recover quickly if a mistake was made? 5 points. Was there eye contact with the audience? 5 points. The winner of this competition will go on to represent Antigua and Barbuda in the regional competition in St. Lucia. Our final reader is representing the St. John's Lutheran. Please welcome Tiaika Edwards as she comes to read the new answer.
Take heed of storm warnings. Source, the Barbados Advocate. And today is the 9th of the 22nd, 2017. This hurricane season is one for the record books, and it still isn't over. Countries like the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands were pummeled twice by Category 5 storms, and damage assessments that were ongoing after Irma will have to be continued all over again after Maria's passage. Likewise, there were parts of Dominica that were still rebuilding after the severe damage wrought by Tropical Storm Erica 2 years ago. Now that country is utterly devastated. To our mind, there are some important takeaways from the seasons to date. These types of impacts can set back vulnerable small island economies by years, retard progress, and limit opportunities for citizens. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Faculty is helpful in providing financial drawdowns to member states. However, one can try to avoid as much intel damage as possible, bearing in mind that one can never fully subdue the natural elements. Officials must get across that preparedness is not only about buying non-perishable items, and storing water. Locals must be encouraged to conduct assessments around their properties to identify and hopefully reduce any risk, especially since we don't know what will happen for the rest of the hurricane season. In the event that fixing a problem is not feasible at this time, then a safe room should be identified and fortified. We must also be mindful of other vulnerable areas. It is also important to realize how much Caribbean countries rely on each other. This outreach and cooperation around the region has been assistance across political unions, systems and language barriers. Cuba, for example, sent teams of doctors to storm-ravaged islands despite of its own hurricane problems. Venezuela sent key personnel and supplies to Antigua and Barbuda after Irma. The reality is that those affected will need ongoing help long past the entail donations of interest. We have to be our brother's keeper and lend assistance in rebuilding countries. There are climatologists and meteorologists who argue that these ferocious storms may be the new normal. Time will prove or disprove that theory. It is also possible that the 2017 season may continue with no further serious activity. We should not let our good fortune blind us to complacency.
Thank you very much, Edward from St. John's Lutheran. That was our final reader for round 2. Please give all the finalists a round of applause. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. And remember, no matter what the judge's decision is, you all are winners in our eyes, and you did a great job, and you must be very proud of yourself. Now we're going to call on Mrs. Jacinta Gore, the head judge, who will give the judge's decision. Please give a round of applause.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
When I look at our participants, I'm greatly impressed. You have really done a fantastic job. And you've given all the judges a difficult time in getting our scores together. Do you know why?
We did it very well.
Yes, you read so well. I think that you were very familiar with the criteria. And so, if not all of you, almost all of you tried very hard to stick to the criteria. And that is good. And so this afternoon, it is my pleasure, on behalf of all of the other judges, we have Ms. James, yes, we have Mrs. Cooper, and we have our new judge, and she's none other than Miss Matthew. Now we can only have 3 winners, okay? But count yourself as a winner even though you're not in the top 5, because you were very close behind each other. And so at this time, for the courts reading competition, in 3rd place we have St. John's Lutheran School, Tiaika Edwards. In second place, I see the students are praying, and that is good. Okay, prayer works, but I don't know how it's going to work at this particular time because the scores are here. We have Najee Williams from Pierce Primary. And in the first place, is it Sunnydale, Potters Primary, Sunnyside Tutorial, or is it Divine Academy? Let us put our hands together for Richard Wilson from Divine Academy. Congratulations to all of you. And Richard, you will be moving on to the original leg of this competition. And we are asking you, and we have the confidence in you, to bring back the trophy to Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you.
At this moment, the PO responsible for the Education Broadcasting Unit, Ms. Alicia Note, will present the winner's check. I know it's a very big check, isn't it? For a very little girl. And I keep saying, good things come in small packages. Once again, congratulations, Michelle Wilson and the Divine Academy School. On behalf of the Education Broadcasting Unit and courts, we would like to thank you for being here. We congratulate the winners, the participants. Do enjoy the rest of your day and look forward to seeing some of you, even if you don't have anyone competing, to come out and support the courts OECS reading competition. God bless.